Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Peter Crenshaw. I am a director of Cloud FinOps at UKG, and here to tell a little bit of a story about our FinOps journey and specifically around our tooling and what we decided to do. To start this story, we got to go back about a year. So I'll cover some of our history, some of the concerns and complications that we had, what we needed to do, and how we achieved those. So as everybody knows, as you walk out the doors, there's all these vendors out there. If you have FinOps in your title on LinkedIn, you're probably getting bombarded with, it's not working.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, you can keep that.
Oh, I need that, don't I? Yep. All right. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, so we'll see if I can do this with two hands. Anyway, just to recap, my name is Peter Crenshaw. I'm a director of Cloud FinOps at UKG. We've had a unique FinOps journey starting about a year ago. So it's still a work in progress, but wanted to walk through kind of our decision points, some of the things we took into consideration. You walk out the doors in the expo hall, there's a dozen plus vendors out there that can report on cloud spend. So why did we choose to do our own? What can you think about as you go down your FinOps journey, regardless of where you are, on tooling, and whether or not it's worth it to invest in your own home-built, homegrown application or go with a third party. So without further ado, there we go. So I'll cover a little bit about what UKG is, our background, some of our unique cost challenges that we've run into, some of the custom solutions that we've built to achieve the results that we needed. Initial wins, so these are things that right out of the gate we were able to say, yes, we succeeded in accomplishing this goal. And then what's ahead? So we have a large roadmap. Like I said, this journey's only been about a year in the making, but we've got a robust agenda that we want to get through, and that was all taken into account when we decided on a tool. It wasn't a narrow-focused, hey, let's look at just our cloud spend. We expanded that out across our enterprise. So a little bit about UKG in case you haven't heard of us. We were created in 2020 with the merger between Kronos Incorporated and Ultimate Software, both big powerhouses in the HR, payroll, time and attendance space. We provide workforce management solutions that are cloud-based. So think of punching it on a time clock, managers approving time, time off, HR systems, things like that. We are dual headquartered because of our merger, so we have headquarters in Lowell, Massachusetts, as well as Weston, Florida. And we have a smattering of products. They're across on-premise, private, and public clouds. So we have a little bit of spend everywhere, or a lot, depending on how you look at it. We are about 15,000 employees globally and growing just about every day. And our public cloud spend is north of 120 million across GCP, Azure, and AWS, with a large percentage of that in GCP. So we are a focused GCP shop on the product side, as well as corporate IT, and then we have, through acquisitions, we've inherited some AWS environments, we have some Azure environments as well. So that's about us. So what makes our situation unique? So 12 months ago, we were in a GCP reseller agreement. Instead of going direct with the provider, we went through a reseller for some additional discounting. Yes, that saved us some money, but it brought a whole plethora of other issues along with it. Things like limited spend visibility without paying more money to the reseller. So hey, come save all this money with the reseller, but we're also going to charge you for any of the tools to see what your spend is. So we kind of a black hole of data. Tiered discounting. So the reseller got a discount from the provider. The reseller gave us a discount. So each level was a different discount. And at the end of it, we couldn't see those different discount levels. Log into certain portals, those don't match our actual bill. We couldn't reconcile anything because of the tiered discounting. And that caused misaligned data sets. So again, we couldn't match invoice to actual cost. Mixed CUD methodologies. So between the two companies, one used shared CUDs, one used project-based CUDs. So they don't mesh. You have to align one or the other. And it was very hard to manage. We were managing them in very distinct, separate views, yet trying to offer a suite experience. So as our developers on one side of the application were developing, we were having to do one methodology for CUD, and then we'd have to switch and do something completely different. Across the two organizations, we had 16 individual billing accounts across 3 GCP organizations. So access-wise, data-wise, it was just a jumbled mess. Does anybody remember the game Pickup Sticks? You used to drop everything on the floor and then try to pick them up one by one. That's essentially how our environment was. It's like Pickup Sticks. We go look for a data set, and it's over here. Oh, you need that access to get over there. Different logins, different organizations, very, very complex. And then FinOps is new. Our engineering teams don't know anything about FinOps. My team was brand new. We understand what FinOps is, but how do we teach the internal teams? How do we work and educate our organization on what FinOps is? Different product topologies, deployment structures, tools, and hosting solutions across the entire portfolio. So coming from 2 different organizations that merged into one, Company A has 6 different inroads into GCP. Company B has 6 different inroads. Now, suddenly, we have 12. How do you manage that? How do you lock that down? How do you label things, et cetera? Organization complexity. So again, 2 organizations, 2 different structures, 2 different ways of doing things. Company A, cloud supports everything from engineering to customer-facing applications. Company B, cloud supports only customer-facing applications, and engineering does their own thing. Who's responsible for spend? Who tracks spend? Who does all of that? And then an asset labeling deficiency. So again, 2 companies, 2 different labeling strategies. We're now one company. How do we get to a point of seeing our spend across the entire ecosystem in one single pane of glass? You do 2 different reports based on the labeling schemas? Do you manually try to put things together? How do you make this work? So what do we do? So we did go through an RFP process with multiple industry providers of spend data. Many of them are out there in the expo hall. And we found that a lot of them could not ingest third-party data. It had to be direct from the consoles. It had to be direct from the BigQuery exports. It had to be direct from AWS. They could not handle something else coming in without extensive customizations. We also started reviewing all of our systems needs. We're recently at one company. What do we need to do? Can we pivot our business direction from this reseller agreement to make things better, to make things more improved, more streamlined? So we decided to go direct with GCP. So we signed a multi-year direct agreement with Google Cloud that eliminated the third-party reseller after a big migration effort. And it gave us all of our data in one spot. Now we're not trying to chase it down. We can combine all of our billing into billing accounts that we have access to, and we can actually work directly with the provider. We incorporated Looker as our business tool for FinOps. So with Google's partnership, we worked through building out custom dashboarding based on our data and our data needs at the time, as well as what we wanted to ingest in the future. So being able to create new data sets, being able to create new views, more visualizations based on our needs at the time versus something pre-canned that a third party would provide. This includes history from the third party. So this was a big piece for us because usually when you migrate, it's kind of a break point. You don't have any of your history. It's only from this point forward you can record, and then you're still kind of stuck in the past. We were able to incorporate that third-party data. So now we have a continuous data set. We ingested 11 terabytes of cost billing data from our third party into the Looker solution so that we could have continuous reporting all the way through. So now I don't have a gap. I can set a date range that goes back 2 years, and I'll get results in the same pane of glass as I do going forward. Because we went with Looker, which is owned by Google, the cost of the tooling counts towards our commit. So it helps us break down our commit, it helps count towards that commit, and it's all under one package. We don't have separate agreements, anything like that. We did migrate and consolidate all those billing accounts. So we had more than 16 before, we're down to 6. So a massive migration effort, moving billing projects around to get them aligned into 6 standardized billing accounts. That number's gone up a little bit because we've done some acquisitions, but we started with 6. We also transitioned that CUD model. So instead of managing CUDs one way for one legacy company and another way for another legacy company, we transitioned to a shared model within each billing account. So now we are managing CUDs a single way, regardless of the billing account you're looking at. So we're not doing different math, we don't have different calculators. The entire organization now understands how we manage CUDs, and it's not based on your reporting structure or the product that you're working on. We also launched an executive-sponsored enterprise labeling initiative, which is actually going live this week, impacting all of our public cloud assets. This is to help us get to the show-back, chargeback model. So prior, again, we had two different labeling schemas. Not everything was labeled, so it was very difficult to run reporting. So we went to the top, so our chief product officer sponsored this, set a mandate, and said everything in GCP needs to be labeled. We have millions of assets out there that over the last 6 weeks we've been working through labeling. The deadline's Friday, so we'll see what percentage we hit by Friday. But as of now, we are starting to see the results of that. You know, even 30% labeled, we're able to start getting more, able to dissect our reporting a little bit better, get more granular, give teams the data that they're looking for. So then we highlighted the value of that asset labeling with these teams before we launched the initiative. So my team set up meetings with all of our engineering leads. We have a value stream structure, so our pillar and our value stream leads, we all got on a call, we walked through some demos of what we could do with labeling. Look, if you have this labeled, we can give you this data, and kind of open their eyes to what is possible. This helped us accelerate that labeling initiative that we just launched. So by them seeing a demo and saying, this is the data I want to see, great, I can give you that. Go label it that way, and I'll give you that report. Helped us advance that. Everybody got on board, everybody got very interested, and of course they said, when can I have it? I said, after you go label. So don't put the cart before the horse, but we did an education campaign, worked with those leads, they pushed that down, and we are starting to see results of that effort. So this is an example, the numbers are altered. This is an example out of one of our service costs that shows the breakdown of the cost between our different types of spend. You've got our marketplace, our snapshots, network, et cetera. This is out of the Looker-based visualization based on the tooling. It also gives us visibility into our value stream pillars. Again, altered data. But we're now able to give an executive view of the spend day by day, week by week, month by month, and it shows which of our value streams is spending the most. Is that the one that should be spending the most? Where are the spikes? Where do things decrease? And why? So these teams are starting to be able to use this data just as they would, you know, any other reporting, but we didn't have this visibility before. Now, one thing I will point out, these reports were created through the custom tool without the labeling in place. That just is wrapping up this week. So because we did a custom tool, we were able to group projects together, we were able to consolidate things into the groupings that we wanted to see without having every asset labeled. Whereas other tools require you to have labels in order to do this type of reporting. Our reporting is only going to get better now that we are labeling at the asset level. We didn't have to do the manual work of mapping projects, and et cetera, et cetera. But this was all prior to that labeling initiative this week, or last 6 weeks, I should say. We're also incorporating our CUD management. So we have customized CUD management views that align with the GCP portal. So between the GCP portal data and our Looker data, we're able to see our spend, our usage, where we fall. We have a blue-green release cycle, so we'll see big spikes in our usage during those releases. The reason I wanted to point that out is you go look at the Google recommender or any other third-party recommender, it's going to say, hey, based on your spikes, you should increase your CUD commitments. Those spikes only happen during major releases 4 times a year. So we have to wait for the cycle to continue until we can go back and look at a recommender and shrink our data period down to not include those spikes. So we have to do some funky filtering for the recommendations, but this gives us point in time on one screen what we're using, how we're using it, and allows us to make those educated guesses on what we should go with. We can even break it down more granular, so we can go by region, we can go by project. This shows us a very detailed view of where those CUDs are being used, how they're being deployed, how they're being separated, because they are shared across the entire billing account. And the changes, where things are higher, where things are lower. So more granular, more detailed than the console provides, customized to our environment, how we operate, navigating around our release cycles, navigating around other things that would throw other metrics off. So initial wins. So this is one of the big areas that we were focused on. Again, this wasn't just about cloud spend. We were looking at our entire enterprise to see how we could help improve things. How can we make processes better, faster for the organization? So click to refresh reporting versus manual data updates. So now we go in, we refresh our dashboards, boom. We have the view that we needed of our data. We can schedule it, we can have it sent out daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the cadence may be. But it's there at our fingertips, ready to go. Customized allocation views for each of our billing invoices, streamlined to our PO process, which reduces dozens of manual accounting entries per month to allocate funds or for chargeback. So even though we don't have a full chargeback model, some cost centers were getting charged a portion of our spend. Like we have an environment for our internal teams to use. There's 4 teams that share that environment. They split the cost of that every month. That's 4 different chargebacks that we do. In the old process, we paid a single amount, and then our accounting team would go in later, put in journal entries to map those chargebacks back to the appropriate cost center. I don't know about your accounting system, but when we put journal entries in, we lose all the history. There's no link between the transactions. It's just like writing in your checkbook, right? There's no notes. It's just transfer from A to B. So at the end of the quarter, end of the year, we'd go and look at the reporting, and those cost centers just had dozens of journal entries for their costs. Did not know if it was GCP cost, didn't know if it was some other cost that was cross-charged. So we wanted to try to reduce that. We wanted to try to get ahead of this to not only clean up our accounting reporting, not our FinOps reporting, our accounting reporting, as well as reduce the manual effort it was taking to break those costs down. PO data compilation and submission process time reduced from weeks to hours. So in this instance, we used to take all of our data into Excel, process it, split it up amongst those internal categories, try to get some idea of what it was, send it off to our business operations team that creates a PO to pay the invoice. That process took weeks because we were grabbing data from different sources. We didn't have details from our third party. There was a lot of different reasons why. Now, we've actually built a customized dashboard to give us that allocation for those new invoices at the click of a button. So when those new invoices come out, we go refresh for the last invoice month. The data refreshes, and it's already been split out based on the logic behind the scenes. That reduces that whole process from weeks to hours. So now we can get that invoice into the PO process within the first week it's issued versus waiting until the end of the month when we can finally get it all put together. And increased visibility into our biggest areas of spend. Before we just got an invoice with a massive amount due. What do? Now we can actually break it apart, show teams what they're spending, which cost centers should be charged. And then customize spend breakdowns by service. So which service is costing us X, which is Y. So this is an example of one of our Google invoices for one of our billing accounts. $1.6 million. It's a single line item on the invoice. That's all we have to go off of. So people are talking about dozens and hundreds of lines on their billing invoices. This is what ours looks like, a single line. So send that to AP and say, hey, go pay this. They go, what is it? I don't know. That's the problem we were trying to solve. With one click through the custom solution, we now export a view that looks like this. Broken down by line item, shows the different amounts that make up that invoice. We've even included if there's an existing PO to pay a portion of it for like a marketplace provider, et cetera. We've included that. Put in the PO number, and then all of our accounting coding. So our company codes, our account numbers, our cost center numbers, all the way down to the finite details that accounting needs. What does this give us? When business operations now receives this file, in addition to the invoice, because they have to match them, they now have a breakdown for their PO. When they put it in on the PO side versus a journal entry on the back end side, you see all of the history. All of those payments are now made. It's still a single payment, but all the tracking and the logging in the accounting system is done up front. There's no manual journal entries because it's all done on the PO side. So our accounting team is much happier because they don't have to have the staff to do all these manual journal entries. They have the historical reporting to see that it's actual GCP cost or marketplace cost or whatever it might be versus just a journal entry of a transfer. So this has drastically increased the visibility and the turnaround time for getting our invoices paid. The accounting team, the FP&A team are very, very happy with this as it is today. And this grows, so this changes. So it's not a set list. As we add new marketplace items, as we expand out and start doing more chargebacks, we want to break things out more granular, this list will grow. It'll soon be dozens, if not, hundreds of lines for that PO. So what's ahead? So we've got some quick wins. We've done a lot, but what else do we want to do with this custom solution? So we want to get to an automated value stream specific reporting based on our new label requirements. Again, that's all happening this week. So all these teams are marching towards this deadline of Friday. We're switching our reporting from that customized view that we did prior to labeling at the asset level to asset label reporting. We'll build out those reports, have them sent every week. Those value stream and pillar owners will see their spend every week, be able to start diving into it, and then we'll customize it from there as their needs come up. Trend reporting, and then we're also looking to add additional data feeds to support other businesses or other units within the organization. These include third-party tool costs, whether it's on-prem, whether it's in the cloud. We can import that cost data, manipulate it, put it into the same views, and break it down the same way. Private cloud costs. We have a bunch of data centers still. We still have co-locations. We have costs associated with those. We want to start pulling that data in to do full cost analysis across our ecosystem. Our sales data, unit economics. We want to get to how much does this customer cost us to run, or how much, PEPM essentially per employee are we paying for these different services. We want to get to that, but we need our sales data in order to support it. Capacity data. What does our capacity look like? Where are we increasing? Where are we decreasing? What are the cost implications there? And then revenue data to get back to those unit economics. Also streamlining our payment processes with Google. We're trying to get to a more standard. We got the visibility there. We have the internal PO process there. There's some other pieces that we want to work through logistically, mainly, just to streamline that all the way through so that those invoices come in, they get processed, and they're out hopefully within the same month or two. And then continued education campaigns for all of our resources. As more engineers hear about labeling, as they hear, why are we labeling? Well, because we need FinOps reporting. Well, what's FinOps? What is this? We're educating, we're working through the campaigns, trying to get more teams on board. Yep. No, you're good. Absolutely. All right. Okay. Pictures are better at the presentation, not of me, so. All right. So that's what I want to cover. Do we have any questions?
All right. And I have this fun thing that I got to throw at you to catch, to ask a question. You ready? Do you have a question? All right, we do have a couple minutes, so I could walk it to you, but I'd rather throw it. Is that okay?
As long as I catch it. So one of the things that we're doing as well is figuring out how to manage the marketplace spend specifically within GCP.
Yep.
So we prepay most of those. Does this reporting that you have take that prepayment and amortize it so that when you get that one-time hit, it amortizes the cost over the life cycle of the contract, or are you guys still working through the logistics of that?
We are doing that on the accounting side.
Got it.
We're paying it up front, so this report shows the upfront payments because it's actually what gets paid on the invoice.
It's the PO.
And then the accounting system picks it up and says, okay, this is a 3-year, 5-year amortization, and it'll split it out that way.
All right, I have to go all the way over here, so I'm going to throw it. Come on, play along. Whoop.
Hey, a lot of what you talked about was around like billing, or chargebacks or that sort of thing. Do you have, for your custom reporting, do you have better like cost optimization insights and things like that to help teams with actually spending less?
Yeah, not yet. It's on the roadmap. We want to get there. It's not built out yet, but we are looking to get those recommendations into the same tool so that it's a single source for all of our reporting. We still have the console, obviously, but we do want to pull that in.
All right, okay, I'm gonna go, you, glasses, got this?
Yeah.
You talked about having this goal of doing the sort of labeling and have a goal of Friday for millions of entries. Is that an effort that you're able to kind of do at scale, or how is that happening?
Very chaotically. So we created, it took us months, but we came up with a new labeling standard with a couple mandatory fields to help break things apart by our value stream model. And then we pushed that out to the teams and said, every asset has to get labeled. So our chief product officer sent the email out saying, June 30th is your deadline, get everything labeled. Everybody sat on it for 4 weeks. And now suddenly they're like, hey, June 30th is coming up. Am I supposed to do something? Yeah, you've got 1 million assets to go label. Go. So it's very chopped up. We're running into ownership issues. We're running into, well, my team deploys it, but somebody else uses it, so who should be labeling it? So we're fighting through it. It's not easy, but this is the first time we've done it at scale, at the ecosystem level. So we're definitely running into challenges. It's not as easy, and we can't automate it because there's some projects that have multiple value streams supported within them based on the structure and how they were built. So automation to say, hey, anything in this project label as this value stream won't work. It'll mislabel it. So it's a manual effort today. Hopefully going forward it's easier as we go, but even this week we're seeing new stuff spun up without labels, so having to go back and keep picking it up. So it's a fight.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the primary reason for building versus buying as opposed to going with somebody outside there, the third-party service providers,
Yep.
was because you had a specific business case that didn't necessarily fit with the generalized format that they have out there.
Yep.
I'm wondering, was there any consideration in terms of how much it would cost to build something like that as opposed to the fees that you would be paying to one of those service providers?
Yeah, so a lot of the service providers are a percentage of your spend, whereas by investing in the licensing for the tool and actually paying for the tool, the cost came in much lower. So instead of a percent of spend, it's a set rate. We kept our licenses low for the tool, so my team and 2 developers on our SRE organization are the only ones with access. We're not planning on opening that up to the entire organization because that means your license fees go up. By keeping it small to a concentrated team that can then supply those automated reports, we're able to control our FinOps costs versus a percentage of our spend.
All right, okay, so there's a lot of questions left. We are at the end of time, but the good news is Peter is gracious enough to stick around for a few minutes here to answer, after we take all of his microphones off of him, because I kind of wanted to throw this at you just to see if you could have one more microphone on you, but your hands were full. Yeah, so we won't. So he will stick around. Again, everybody, this was great. I could tell that all of you liked it by all the pictures that you were taking on your phones and your tablets, so awesome. So one big round of applause for Peter Crenshaw at UKG. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks for watching that session. I'm sitting here in San Diego right after FinOps X. We hope you join us next year here live 2024. In the meantime, please subscribe to the channel and join the community. Get involved, join the summits, get in a working group, and don't forget to get FinOps certified. Because next year here in San Diego for FinOps X, it's going to be twice as big. Come join the party. Come meet your people. Welcome home.